Alrighty guys, hello and welcome back to the show. Got a cast coming your way today. Really interesting tactic used in this game that kind of works, kind of doesn't. And anyway, I don't know what's been going on with I felt like the game was almost like kind of stagnant, like you saw a lot of the same things for a long time, or maybe I just wasn't super diligent with my replay reviews, but I feel like I keep coming across these like wacky strategies that are just super interesting, and this is a game with another one of them. So let's go ahead and introduce our players. We got Team 1 up at the top, Team 2 rocking it down there at the bottom. Big Navy map, lots of mass as well in these pawns, and a good amount of mass for each player. So let's go ahead and get into the introduction, starting off with the rearguard air position. For team number 1, we have Hachi, who's going Seraphim, opening first land. To the east, we now have Razana going Cybran, first land. Heading it... I can't speak. Further to the east, we have Bannable Offense, who's going Cybran, opening first land. Incidentally, the highest rated player on team number 1, up at 2,000. Down to the south, we have Cups, who's going Aeon, opening first land. And last but not least, we have Berge, Soyev, Savoy, Poikin, I believe, UEF, opening first land. Moving on to team number 2, in the rearguard air position, we have Strider, who's going Cybran, first land, getting some power grid up. To the north, we now have Terminal, who's going Cybran as well, first and second land. Last on the north, we have OGWPR Outreach. I'm going to call him Outreach, going first land. And then down on the southern side of the map, we have Black Phoenix going UEF, first land. And then last but not least, rounding us out in this game, we have I Make War on You, going Seraphim, opening first land. So, lots of mass like we talked about. 8 different maxes in the southern pawns, as well as the northern pond. 2 little kind of neutral ones here in the middle that are going to be a little bit more difficult to get to. So, I would imagine control of these pawns going to be super important. Little water as well in the middle if you want to hide from things like strat rushes or strat snipes. But by and large, it looks like everybody is trying to get into the water as quickly as possible. We got Black Phoenix as well as I Make War on You getting initial naval facilities set up. Actually, I Make War on You just finishing his first naval factory. His opponent, Berge, has yet to start on a naval factory. So Berge, a little bit behind there, behind his opponents at least. Up in the northern pond, similar results with Bannable Offense, I believe, getting his naval factory down first, or maybe not. Looks like Outreach was in pretty much lockstep with his opponent. So northern pond and southern pond, I would predict that the southern pond gonna go for team number 2. Northern pond, we'll see how kind of it all shakes out. But it is a little bit, it's kind of sort of lopsided because Terminal doesn't really seem to be focusing on the northern pond as much. And on the southern side, Black Phoenix is going to be getting into the water along with I Make War on You, where Cups not moving his commander, well, maybe moving his commander into the water. So we'll see how this ends up shaking out. But quieter time right now as just everybody's getting their navy set up. And I'm just glad to be home. Been traveling a lot lately. And it's not like some of it was the good kind of travel. Went to a couple of heavy metal festivals with my wife. But a lot of it has been, you know, the not good kind of travel where it's like I fly out early morning, run meetings all afternoon, fly back early morning the next day, and then do it all again. So I guess it's good because apparently it means my company needs me to be doing stuff like that. But you know, it's also kind of annoying because I don't like traveling. And honestly, the main reason I don't like traveling is because I'm 6'4". And so airplanes and me, you know, I just folding myself in half to get into an airplane seat. It's just not super fun. And then the guy in front of me always reclines his seat and then crushes my kneecaps. So it's a good time. It's a good time whenever I'm on an airplane. I Make War on You also walking his commander clear across the pond. Grabbing some of these mexes. Does have 2 frigates out right now to Berge's 1 frigate. So that's going to be initial little naval victory. And then up on the northern side, getting some pressure in from Bannable Offense on Strider. Bannable Offense going to be taking a slightly better trade here up against Strider. Or no, I'm sorry, this is Outreach. Strider's in the naval position. So Strider does have that Cybran comm, so does have the option to go to torpedoes on the commander to make things a little bit more interesting. But right now it looks like a little bit of mirrored action going on right now. Berge having some difficulties in the Navy, and then Outreach on the other side also sharing those exact same difficulties. As I Make War on You's commander begins moving forward, probably feels pretty comfortable here, as you know, torpedo bomber is not going to be a huge threat, and it'd be pretty difficult to get a critical mass of submarines out right now, and he can always just kind of bail out to the land. As Berge ends up losing his naval factory, and I Make War on You tries to reclaim it. What a cheeky asshole. And Berge might not be contesting Navy anymore. Might just give up on that one. Outreach still fighting for his naval spot in this game. But it's not looking super great for him as well. He does have one sub out, is able to bag a frigate, but gonna lose out on a factory. And more frigates coming in from Bannable Offense as well. And submarine's going to be exchanging blows. Outreach's sub is going to lose out on that. Does have another sub that comes off the line. I feel like I'm just saying what you guys can already see, so hopefully that's helpful. Either that it's really annoying. Either way, you guys clicked on this, you guys know I have an annoying voice. Naval Factory from Cups also going to get eliminated by I Make War on You. And I Make War on You also getting some forward naval production set up. Last submarine there for Berge going down. Berge not quite giving up, I guess. Has gone for a torpedo launcher as well, to maybe give himself some semblance of security. Cups' naval facilities now going to go down as well. So no naval factories there for team number 1. And Terminal has dropped all of his Navy in this little alcove here instead of going for one of the pawns, which could be helpful, could help take a little bit of the pressure here off of Outreach if Outreach still wants to keep trying for these naval factories. This is always just the worst feeling in the world whenever you end up losing Navy like this. Your naval yards just get locked out and you're just like suffocating slowly trying to throw mass into it. I don't have a great way of dealing with it. I also don't really play the game that much anymore, but I don't have a great way to deal with it. I think best thing to do in my experience has been just go for hover as much as you can. You know, borrow a Seraphim engineer from somebody, get some Zooies out. Tech 2 air, getting some torpedo bombers is a good option, but you know, again, you kind of need a critical mass of torpedo bombers, and that just takes a really long time to get. You need, you know, 5, 6, 7 of them to kind of be able to get them away for good. Otherwise, their AA, even though it's not great, will eventually whittle your torpedo bombers down. So sending out 1 or 2 at a time doesn't do a whole lot, and you end up sinking resources into a tech that you're probably not really going to use for anything else. Cups also tried to go Navy here, and in this instance he ran into Terminal. Terminal said no thank you. I'll lock him out on that side. Outreach appears to have now given up on the naval game from his side, so that's going to be Bannable Offenses and Rizana's queue to start migrating to the southern pond, and they're going to run into Terminal's Navy. Terminal's Navy pretty healthy here. It does have I Make War on You, as well as now Black Phoenix's Tech 2 Navy to contend with. So it's going to be kind of a 3v2 in the Navy game. And some pretty high level players playing this Navy. Terminal Terminal and I Make War on You at 1900 and 2000, and then Bannable Offense also sitting at 2000. But try to make a play for Terminal's naval facilities. Terminal's going to send them with their tail between their legs, or their propellers between their whatever the things that sit around propellers. Would that be the rudder? I guess that'd be the rudder. And in submarines, do they call the thing that makes you go up and down, is that trim, or do they call it the elevator like they do in aircraft? Although I guess it's also kind of trim in an aircraft as well, depending on what you're talking about. Either way, I digress wildly. Tech 2 cruisers now out, taking down some of Berge's resourcing options, and Berge's just in a really, really rough position. Much worse than where Outreach is, because Outreach, I believe, does not have to contend with tactical missiles. No, he only has to deal with Aeon and Cybran, so he does not have to contend with tactical missiles. Going to be a lot more easy for him to hold that beach, at least initially, until the Cybran destroyers come out and start walking around. But for the time being, he's under a lot less pressure than Berge is, and Berge is absolutely just, you know, loving that pressure, trying to get some TMD up. 2 TMD not going to be able to solve all of his problems. Does have a couple of others that are getting queued up, but one of them is going to go down, and so now it's the race between, can you get tactical missile defense up fast enough to deal with the incoming tactical missile barrages. Terminal now making a play for Rizana and Cups' naval facilities. Pretty much all Tech 1 in here. There is a Salem out for Bannable Offense. Gonna send Terminal packing, at least until Terminal can get some Tech 2 of his own out, which does have that HQ working. Getting his own Salem out, got about halfway done. But there is pretty good Tech 2 presence out from I Make War on You, as well as... Who's the other guy down here? Oh yeah, Black Phoenix. Too many names, too many things to deal with, and that is going to be it for Berge. Might have gone down to Navy. There are some destroyers here, so might have gotten ranged by the Navy, or he's just like, I don't feel like playing this game like anymore, and I don't know. I honestly couldn't blame him. This always sucks whenever you end up in this scenario where you're up against a player that is significantly better than you, and you lose Navy, and then you're just trying to play this tactical missile game for the next, 15 minutes until they build battleships, and then just, shell you into oblivion anyway. So can't say that I blame him if he did decide to control K, but I think he got ranged by the Navy that was on his beach. Start to see Tech 3 air popping up. Some ASF there out of Hatshi, I guess is how you pronounce it. That's what we're going with. 2 Salems now out for the northern team, and that's what we're going to start referring to them as, like the northern team and the southern team, because you're going to see that a lot of this is just going to coalesce here in this channel. Because I Make War on You, as well as Black Phoenix, are now starting to move their ships. Black Phoenix even setting up some manufacturing facilities here. Nice torpedo bomber raid on the HQ there for Terminal. Does have a couple of interceptors in the area, but not enough to be able to save this HQ. I think one more pass should do it. Yeah. Alright, so Tech 2 now down for Terminal. He does have Tech 2 support from his allies behind him, but none that are here currently. So the cruisers and Salems are going to be able to have a little bit of a field day, or at least as soon as they take out the destroyers that are currently on the field for Terminal. But beating a semi-hasty retreat, Bannable offense with stealth and torpedo on his commander, playing it fast and loose there up at the front. And this is going to turn into... So I've obviously watched this game. This is going to turn into a very long naval engagement here in the middle. But it exhibits one of the coolest tactics I think I've ever seen. And I'll show you guys whenever I see it. But I have not seen it yet. And as soon as I put this up, a bunch of people are going to do this, and then, you know, they're going to do it incorrectly, or I'm going to try and do it, and I'm going to do it incorrectly, and then, you know, it's going to be rough for me. But I make war on you with gun, as well as Tech 2 upgrade. Just clearing out Berge's old base. Cups is the lucky recipient of this wasteland of a beach now. Covered by the cruisers and their tactical missiles there in the bay. I don't know what the Seraphim cruisers shoot, you know, what you would actually call these individual missiles. But I like to think that the governors shoot a variant on the Tomahawk missile. That just seems very appropriate. And a couple of UEF destroyers now out, so Black Phoenix now up to Tech 2. Terminal, once again, under threat of losing his Tech 2 HQ. Tech 2 HQ has been diagnosed with terminal illness once. It was brought back to life and resurrected and is now fighting for its life once more in the ICU. As engineers desperately try to keep it alive, hooking it up to ventilators and all sorts of things. And I think if Bannable Offense wants this HQ dead, he could kill it. And that's where the destroyers then shift their attention. Well, it might be able to stay alive. There's enough here to keep him distracted. The comm is even firing on it. But once again, gonna kind of back off. Just not trusting, I guess, their superior tech or superior numbers. What does their intel look like? Okay, so they should know, and they've got scouts that are kind of circling over this area. A lot of these are going to be cruisers and shield boats. Like, there's only one destroyer here. And strike that, there is no destroyer there anymore. So, I feel like these guys could get a little bit more aggressive there. But what do I know? I'm just the stupid caster. It's easy for me to say that. I have full visibility on everything that is happening on the map right now. And there is actually a strat bomb run that is happening currently. Gonna go for a little bit of a hover tactic there out of Hachi. There is 1 rank of vet and 13 kills so far to its name. Gonna go after the air players' mexes now. Trying to do some of that hover bomb 180 or 90 degree turn. It's actually a really good way to turn your strat, make sure it's not overflying its target, as it just overflew its target one more time. But it does have plenty of ASF in the air, and that one was on an upgrade cycle, so Strider's not going to be super happy about that one. This HQ is still clinging to life. Shield boat now coming in to give it a little bit of cover. Not for long though, as the shields now collapse. And this is finally going to be the end of that HQ once again for Terminal. Let's see how long it gets in. Oh, he has another HQ back here. Oh, so he went for the multi-HQ strategy. Okay, so for all you people, we're going to go into some duelist lore maybe. But I put a video out a long time ago, if I remember to link it in the description. But I made like 3 Tech 2 land HQs accidentally. And I put it on YouTube because I thought it was like super funny, and I thought you guys would get a kick out of it. And anyway, you know, I spent most of the time roasting myself for building multiple HQs whenever you obviously don't need multiple HQs. If by any chance you guys are new to FAF, You only need 1 HQ, and then you can upgrade individual factories to just Tech 2 factories, and they'll produce Tech 2 units. The advantage is it's a lot cheaper to upgrade to just the Tech 2 factory instead of having multiple HQs. But I feel vindicated now, as there were multiple HQs for Terminal 1900 level player, therefore multiple HQs is the way to go. So now I will only build multiple HQs. For redundancy, you know? Like, yeah, you want to live life on the edge and only have 1 HQ. You want to live life on the edge and put all of your data on one spinning hard drive and not have it hooked up to a RAID array? Be my guest. Or you can go for a little bit of redundancy here, as Black Phoenix now losing a lot of his naval manufacturing capabilities. As a combined coalition of destroyers and frigates from Rizana, Cups, and Bannable Offense now starting to push very far to the south. We have Restoration Field and Nano Repair now coming out for I Make War on You, which is going to be pretty interesting here in a moment. But for the time being, Tech 2 destroyers coming out for I Make War on You, trying to get into position, but Seraphim destroyers don't have as good a range as their Cybran counterparts. So it's difficult for them to get into range where they can actually start doing some good, especially in any sort of volume. At least they do have a couple of shield boats out here from Black Phoenix to be able to help them deal with that range a little bit more. And the sub killers are helping a little bit, but... And Bannable Offense's commander starting to take some damage out of these sub killers. Don't think it's enough and to kill Bannable Offense here, and the sub killers do not win against destroyers. And yeah, they're going to back off and going to lose some of their numbers along the way. This is also one of the nice things about the Cybran Cruiser, is the Cybran Cruiser's like you know, deck gun capabilities, I guess is what you would call it, is actually not bad. Whereas like a lot of these other cruisers, like the Seraphim cruiser doesn't even have that capability. It can only fire cruise missiles. So you start to see some of those benefits here. But this is where it gets interesting. Okay, so I Make War on You has Rapid Restoration Field and Nano on his Seraphim commander. Now, usually you don't see a Seraphim commander, at least in my experience, playing on the front lines in a Navy engagement. But if you hover over one of these units, these Seraphim destroyers are regaining 50 hit points per second because of this Restoration Field. That is allowing them to not only have better staying power, but if I Make War on You decides to disengage, all of his units are regenning whether they have veterancy or not. So you don't have to deal with like all of these, you know, super weak destroyers that might have really, really low HP. And like this one will be repaired, like fully repaired in, I don't know, a minute and a half or so. Which in this game, a minute and a half is nothing in the grand scheme of things. So now, with this Restoration Field, and these submarine killers, which are also benefiting from this Restoration Field, can then start to move forward, and with these destroyers, now get into decent range where the Seraphim destroyers can actually use like their critical mass that Bannable Offense, or that I Make War on You has built up. And with this Restoration Field, makes them a hell of a lot more difficult to kill. And so now Bannable Offense is retreating once again. So just really interesting, really, really interesting stuff. It's obviously not entirely due to this Rapid Restoration Field, but I mean the Rapid Restoration Field is definitely helping in a super big way. Especially when you have these pretty delicate units in like the Barracudas. Like Barracudas are not super tanky. They're pretty paper thin. I think they were hunting for Bannable Offense's commander, and they did not find it. Seraphim Destroyers, once again, closing the gap. Taking on some Exodus and Salem. They're going to back up and then regen a little bit. And then I Make War on You now has access to a lot more reclaim. Bannable Offense and Rizana once again have to retreat. They're going to lose all these factories that they just spent a bunch of mass putting together. And then it's just rinse and repeat. And in Navy, one of the critical things about Navy is as you are pushing, you start to have these large amounts of engineers running on reclaim missions back behind you. Because Navy is one of those theaters where if you lose a naval engagement and lose a naval battle, and your opponent actually like starts reclaiming all of the wrecks that are on the bottom of the ocean, like you really lost. Because not only did you lose a bunch of units that now you have to rebuild, but you also just gave over thousands of mass to your opponent that if they are at all paying attention, which I Make War on You is now reclaiming like all of this lovely juicy mass. And these engineers now have like, 500 mass reclaim apiece, which is huge whenever we're talking about Navy engagements. Barracudas and the Ushavas. That's right. Continuing to push forward here. Benefiting from the restoration field that I Make War on You has got down there. Just pushing back little by little by little. Torpedo bombers out of Strider, definitely helping. There is a battleship here, though, for Rizana. That's going to make it, more annoying to push forward with only Tech 2 units. And we'll go ahead and do a quick check. Okay, so Terminal has upgraded to a Tech 3 HQ. See, this is another reason why you build multiple HQs, y'all. Because if you hadn't built this second HQ, then he wouldn't have a Tech 3 HQ. You know what I mean? If he... I know that, let me break this down for you. If you don't upgrade a factory to an HQ, you in fact do not have an HQ. Amazing logic, I know, but I've run the numbers, the math, it all checks out. I really wish there was like some metric that you could use to see how many hit points has been restored via restoration field. I feel like that would be a really, really cool number to be able to see, because I really think that this is making a huge difference, but I also don't know if I'm just like, fangirling over something that I think is super cool, or whether this is actually like making a huge difference. It seems like it's making a pretty big difference to me. But I also don't know until like you can actually like look at the numbers and be like, wow, there were 50 free destroyers worth of HP that was restored by restoration field. That'd be actually like really cool if you could see that. I have no idea how you would see that, but it'd be really dope. All right, so what we were talking about earlier with Strider, how he was going to be able to have more of a peaceful existence until the Cybran destroyers decided to sprout legs. Has now happened. The Cybran destroyers have, undergone gender-affirming care and are now walking on land because they identify as tanks instead of as boats. But that's going to be power taken down for Strider. He did have a Tech 3 Air HQ. That Air HQ is also going to go down. But just think, if he had followed what Terminal had done, okay, and built multiple HQs, he would in fact have multiple HQs and redundancy. Yeah, true story. True story. We'll see what Team 2 wants to do to deal with this. Looks like Tech 1 bombers are kind of the strategy, at least out of Strider. Or Strider's actually still building torpedo bombers. So we'll see if Tech 1 bombers is the way that they elect to go, or if they just kind of like try and encircle these guys and starve them out. I don't know. We still have kind of a stalemate going here in the naval side at about 30 minutes into the game. I can tell you Team 1 doing way more damage though right now with their naval win than Team 2 has been able to do. Cups has even gotten, you know, relatively established here with, I don't know, has he like upgraded mexes? Okay, no, he hasn't upgraded. He hasn't invested into mex upgrades yet. Speaking of mass, really good idea to look at income. These guys are in lockstep, 1.4K. Total mass skewing very slightly to Team 2. And this is most likely because of the reclaim operations that are happening in this little bay, pond, inlet, thingamabob, whatever you want to call it. There's some Tech 3, though, out from Black Phoenix. So we do have a battle cruiser on the field. These Galaxy-class battleships are slugging it out with Rosanna's battleships. Torpedo bombers are also just becoming more of a nuisance rather than, I think, anything else, really. And I say that as they just wipe out that entire wave of sub-hunters or sub-killers. The Yassaus, though, Seraphim sub-hunters, are now starting to come out from I Make War on You. I Make War on You is now, you know, making torpedoes on you. These Galaxy battleships are a little bit outnumbered by their brethren that have turned on them. The cruise missiles are actually like doing something here, which is kind of interesting. These frigates are getting clipped by cruise missiles. One just died right there to a cruise missile. And I'm kind of surprised Strider has not gone for more air superiority. And I keep calling this base, which is now not really a base anymore, Strider. This is Outreach. Apologies. But Outreach's base has been pretty much leveled now. Has 0 mexes to his name. And it now looks like the response is going to be T1 artillery spam out of terminal. Going to take away some mass from the naval fight here. But things have kind of just stabilized into long-range bombardment between the battleships. And the submarine hunters coming out from I Make War on You has been super helpful. Got some gunships out from Strider. And yes, that is actually Strider. That's not Outreach. A couple of whalers. They should... 4 whalers should be actually enough to just clean all this up really quickly. Destroyers do not have good anti-air. None of them. If they have anti-air at all. So not all of them do. That's going to be it for the push, though, from Bannable Offense on Outreach's main base. But you can't really complain with that push, because he pretty much leveled Outreach's base. Cups coming in behind him, trying to get a little bit of a beachhead. That is probably also going to be taken out by these whalers and or the artillery waves that sit behind them. So once again, we go back to the middle here at this kind of stalemate that we've got with a couple different couple destroyers. We do have an Omen battleship out from Cups, as well as several, 6 to be exact, Galaxy class battleships out from Rosanna. That is squaring off against the sub-hunter forces of I Make War on You and the 3 battleships that are still left from Terminal. Although Terminal does have a couple more coming in. Start to level the playing field a little bit more. I Make War on You's commander still just sitting out here, healing things up, making sure everybody's healthy, everybody's taking their vitamins. His sub-hunters doing lots of work on these engineers. And Bannable Offense trying to get some of that good reclaim with these engineers. Not really going to be able to. Sub-hunters quite good at dealing with just about everything except for torpedo bombers. Battleship's going to go down there. Got a couple more battleships. And this is probably the benefit of that restoration field. Like, these battleships would be a lot healthier right now than they are currently. Like, this guy's clinging to life, you know, with a hope and a prayer, and now is sinking to a watery grave. And yeah, Rizana arguably is not doing the best job here with micro, as he's just sending these battleships on kind of kamikaze missions. But, you know, with a commander forward with restoration field, those units would be a lot healthier. And you can see on these sub-hunters, a lot of them are in the green. Same with these destroyers. We got a couple that are in the yellow. They're getting repaired pretty quickly, but a lot of these naval units are very, very healthy. Even though they've, you know, been heavily involved with a lot of engagements. 37 kills, 53 kills, 38 kills. Like, these guys are not just sitting back doing nothing. And they haven't just been fighting engineers either. They've been doing shit like this, like going up against battleships. And Rizana, bannable offense, and Cups forced once again to retreat, losing yet another battleship to the relentless torpedo onslaught and long-range bombardment from Terminal's battleships. So, yeah, I mean, at this point, I think your main option, if you are bannable offense, Cups, or Rizana right now, has got to be Harms. I think that's your only play. And that's actually what Rizana is doing right now, is he's getting some Harms now put down in the water. That's, I think, your main option, because you're not winning this with battleships. Although I don't know why we haven't seen more concerted torpedo bombing runs, because I think that Team 1 has air. Hachi is sitting at 150? That doesn't seem right. That seems really low for 36 minutes into the game. But anyway, 150, bannable offense, working with 213. That's a little more like it. I think those are the two main players. So that's going to be somewhere around 350, 360 ASF there for Team 1. And then Team 2, I think Strider is the only one building ASF. He's got 342. Okay, never mind. They're like evenly matched. But torpedo bombers are probably the best way to deal with sub-hunters, at least as far as I know. And you do have like little raids that are like this coming out of bannable offense, but you don't have like, you know, 70 on a Shift G attack order, spread attack, to just wipe all these things out off the face of the map. And as a result, I Make War on You just sitting up here with his commander, restoring everything. And he is very snipeable as well from torpedo bombers. Like, that's another thing. Like, your main problem here is the fact that these units are repairing. And the reason why they're repairing is I Make War on You's commander is just sitting up here with his dick hanging out, waiting to be destroyed. I mean, he has nano, so it's not like it's going to be super easy, but, you know, 1,600 or 16,000 HP, like, that's easily snipeable with torpedo bombers. Especially you have Aeon on the team with Cups. Like, Tech 3 torpedo bombers are on the menu for Cups. He could fill all of his Cups with Tech 3 torpedo bombers if he wants to. And arms are going to go down for Rizana. Good idea. Maybe a little bit too late. Should have had that idea before I had it. That's why he's playing and I'm talking. Because he's obviously a much better player than I am. But we're still seeing Tech 2 torpedo bombers out. We'll talk about this just really briefly. There is a large amount of governors down here from Black Phoenix that are, you know, causing issues for Cups' second base that he inherited. Everybody's just kind of at a standoff. He's sending Tech 3 units and Tech 2 units and not getting anywhere. And then Black Phoenix is not really getting anywhere either. So, okay, now this, a little bit more like it. Hachi large flight of torpedo bombers. I would imagine these guys are on some sort of spread attack order on the Assaus. Or they're just going straight after I make war on You's commander. That's another way to do it. And I guess now we get to see how much of a difference that restoration field actually made, as we now have an air engagement between Strider and the 2 air players on Team 1. ASF numbers were relatively even, but one thing that's really difficult if you're a singular air player is fighting 2 air forces, even if they're smaller. Because it makes it much more difficult where one player can really get in behind you really easily and start doing damage while the other player just kind of acts as bait. And Team 1 just absolutely cleaned up in the air. And now we have Hachi going just straight after torpedo bombers. That is a nuke as well, so it looks like we've got a nuke sub. Yeah, we do have a plan B. Sitting out here, that's going to be going after Cups' naval HQ. And these torpedo bombers now out of Hachi, more coming all the time. Needs to get a lot of anti-aircraft up as quickly as possible, preferably like Tech 2 or Tech 3 AA. Get some of that flak involved. The submarines are surfaced, so getting benefit out of the anti-air out of those sub-hunters as well. And those sub-hunters do have pretty good anti-air capabilities, but they are not very beefy from an HP perspective. So as soon as the shields fall from these shield boats, they're pretty much sitting ducks. You can see how many kills these things get, though. You got 16 kills on that one. This cruiser is just like sitting down here having a field day until it dies with like 50 some odd kills, a lot of which are probably torpedo bombers. Starting to get some Tech 1 AA up down here, which, you know, it's something. I guess if all you got are Tech 1 engineers in the vicinity, then it's better than nothing. But I think Terminal just needs to go for the throat here, take out these HQs. Where's the HQ? Oh, he did take out the HQ. Okay. HQ is down. Bannable Offense trying to get some more naval manufacturing up, spamming out a bunch of Tech 1 factories while he's had a little bit of a reprieve here with the torpedo bombers. And these things just came out of nowhere, man. These things... I think Team 1, this was an orchestrated thing where Team 1 was like, yeah, we're going to make a shitload of torpedo bombers and that's all we're going to make as soon as they won air, which is a really good move. And battleships are just sinking left and right here for Terminal. And Strider can't really do anything about it because he lost all of his air. Even fighting over friendly AA. I just love watching. Oh, and even some harms came up that are, you know, trying to help out from Rizana. I think that the torpedo bombers, though, are really the difference maker here. I'm curious how many kills these sub-hunters are getting from an air perspective, or how many kills. I mean, all of these Tech 1 AA have, like, you know, 5 to 10 kills each, and there's 15 or 20 of them in there. Strider trying to protect his allies in the air, but ends up just getting absolutely destroyed, even over friendly AA. Granted, it is Tech 1 AA, so, you know, not sure what we were expecting. And now we have a bunch of Wagners coming in from Terminal. Terminal, the one incidentally, is who inherited I Make War on You's base. So lots of Wagners now coming in. We'll see what the approach is for the defense from Rosanna and Bannable Offense. A Terminal just desperately trying to get all these torpedo bombers out of the sky. Has aircraft carriers with set up as well. Cruisers, static AA, everything, and the kitchen sink trying to take out as many of these torpedo bombers as possible. And just keeps losing ships. And I think Hachi is winning on this mass trade. The only good thing I think about this is if Hachi is focusing like his entire, well, it's all paused right now, but was focusing his entire air grid on torpedo bombers, it means that maybe he's not making ASF, giving Strider an opportunity to get back into the fight. Strider has gone for Tech 3 long-range artillery. And there was another thing that caught my eye up here as we were looking at Hachi's base, which is a nearly completed Yolana. So the way for, because Team 1 was, it was starting to look a little dicey. If they lost this northern pond, things were going to get rough. Especially because Bannable Offense is under artillery fire. But the way, I mean, Team 1's done a great job of getting back into this game, though, with a combination of that torpedo bomber snipe, getting just a lot of torpedo bombers out to kind of level the playing field from a Navy perspective. And now this YOLO is really going to throw it over the top. And Jesus Christ, that thing is now almost done. That thing came up quick. Last time I saw it, it was, you know, now it's like 99%. And then we looked, whenever we looked over like 30 seconds ago, it was somewhere in like the 70% range. All right, but that YOLO is done. We'll have to see how Team 2 deal with this. Strider does have one long-range artillery installation named Herald. But one long-range artillery is not going to be able to get through this number of Seraphim shields. And Outreach actually just going for massive amounts of Tech 1 bombers. Interesting play there. Terminal going once again for the naval lock here on Bannable Offense. This time with some Seraphim battleships in tow, in addition to his own native Cybran brand. First YOLO is out, and there's also another nuke out of this Plan B going after Cups' base. Does not look like there is an SMD here, though. So Cups going to lose some of his core mass. The inaugural YOLO is very close to Terminal's commander. Terminal's commander just should not be moving forward. That takes out, I think, most of the Navy that was left there for Terminal. Does have a couple of battleships that are still bumping around out here. And Black Phoenix does have a pretty healthy Navy down here with a couple of battleships and battle cruisers. But seems to be more focused on going after Cups' base and utilizing these battleships in, you know, a very much a Omaha Beach, Normandy D-Day kind of tactic. Now multiple nuke. I think that there's also a nuke launcher somewhere over there that is not a YOLO. I think this is the YOLO, though. That is going after Terminal's Tech 3 HQ. Did he build two of them? Naval Factory, Naval Factory, Naval HQ. See? There we go. He built two of them. That's my boy there. Building in redundancy into your system. This is where the other nuke landed. Terminal's main base. But, yeah, Hachi now seems very itchy with that trigger finger on the YOLO. Spamming those things out left and right. So this is why you build multiple HQs, boys and girls, so that you don't lose everything. Strider died somewhere in here.
Strategic launch detected.
Barely gonna save Harold there. How many counter nukes do we have left here? We have 0 and 0 and 2. Okay, so we got 2 left. So assuming that this this YOLO is going after Harold there, Harold will stay safe for another minute and a half or so until Hachi launches another one in that direction. Yeah, Strider died somewhere. I'm not 100% sure where, but it was definitely somewhere, and he is in fact dead. It's probably why whenever I was talking about the multiple HQ things, some things are just really important. You know, you gotta talk about multiple HQs.
Strategic launch detected.
Is that nuke? Nope, that nuke is not gonna make it through. Okay, but that one was actually going after the air grid, and will exhaust the nuke defenses of their remaining countermeasures here for poor old Harold. And I don't think we're gonna have another 2 ready in time before this warhead makes it over the sea and across the mountains and up Harold's ass. So poor Harold. We can all watch as Harold is the lucky recipient of
Strategic launch detected.
this year's rather large suppository. Ba-boom. It is one of the coolest graphics, though, in FAF. The YOLO detonating. At least in my opinion. I like how it's kind of like a flower. It's got a couple of different waves here. This nuke is going after... Oh, looks like it's going after Terminal. Terminal's comm is... I don't know what happened to my mouse there, but Terminal's comm is right here. It is now... living only once, in fact. And he should die here, right? Okay, yeah, there we go. There's that second damage wave. Got another nuke out. Okay, so Terminal's down. We have Black Phoenix and Outreach left. Outreach is a pretty good player. But, you know, he's not going to have a base for very much longer. That's going to be a portion of his power grid. Okay, sorry about that. Ran into a game crash, which is a little unusual. So, pick up where we left off, which is, I think this is roughly where we left off. Terminal, about to die. Strider has also died. Nukes are flying everywhere. We'll get to that in a second, but we have a nuke headed for Strider's old base. Terminal just got killed. There's another nuke headed up towards this area, maybe trying to take out Bannable Offense, but missed. And yeah, that's where we're at right now. There's that nuke landing. Beautiful Yolana graphic. The one thing that I did get wrong, because believe it or not, this game has actually crashed like 3 times on me now. Apparently there was another Yolana that went down here that I didn't see earlier. So that would be, there's 1 HQ left, and that's going to be for Black Phoenix. But the what I missed earlier whenever I misspoke was Strider actually went for a tele-snipe on the Yolana. And as you can see, it missed. So yeah, this game crashed 3 times on me. And this is the 4th time that I'm trying to pick it back up again. So 4 times the charm. Hopefully it doesn't crash on me again. Everybody, you know, say a prayer to the FAF gods. But going back to the game, there's really only one option here for Team 2. And that's going to be this Scathis needs to put in a shitload of work. Scathis is probably my least favorite experimental unit because I don't really think it's that good. I guess if you've only got Cybran, then you know, it'll do better than other T3 long range artillery, especially because you can, like, you know, build it underwater and it's more difficult to pick up and track and you can move it, etc. But you know, I mean, just looking at this base and looking at the shielding and everything, I don't know if a Scathis is going to be able to do this, especially if I mean, there's a lot of build power here. These could be really quickly upgraded into Tech 3 shields. And if you got this many Tech 3 shields, I don't think a Scathus is going to be able to cut it. So, but I mean, we'll see. I've been, you know, proven wrong many a time. Gun speed and range coming in for Rizana. Not sure what that's about. I don't know. Maybe he's going to walk his commander in. He's going to get stealth as well. Good for him. So anyway, not sure what that's about. A couple of Ras boys that are bumping around, holding Cups' main base that is under assault from both Outreach and Black Phoenix. Oh, nice little chicken here that is going to turn tail and run like the chicken that it is. Because there are, you know, summits in the bay. And just lots of Tech 1 mobile artillery. And Cups is trying to keep that thing alive. We're going to be hearing strategic launch detected for a long time, guys. So, oh, and I'm still at plus 10. Whoops. But that's going to deal with portions of Black Phoenix's base. Does still have his air HQ. Another nuke coming in. That one will get shot down by a counter nuke. This one looks to be going for I Make War on You's original base, which is, you know, fantastic. Yeah, I mean, I think it all comes down to how much work can this Scathus actually put in. I think that's the first volley away, or second volley maybe, that is going to impact. So did take out some mass fabs. And will also do some damage to the power grid and air grid. But as you can see, these shields are blinking up. Hachi is upgrading all of these to Tech 3 shield generators very quickly, as you can see with his engineers. The Yolana is untouched. There is a very sneaky SACU up here in the pond called Latent Hope, which is, you know, ironic because this guy might be the only hope for team number 2. Because that Scathus is not going to be able to get through these shields, especially under assistance. Like, this shield's already repaired. This one, you know, might blink off, but it's not going to be the end of the world if it does. The rest of the map, we've got a large gunship strike coming in. It's going to run over a bunch of cruisers. And that'll help take out a good amount of the gunships. Outreach has rebuilt Strider's Air Force. So air control might be going their way here pretty soon, especially if Hachi doesn't micro any of his air units and just like lets them all die, especially because they're SAMs around here too. So I don't know what the ASF here are doing. It looks like he accidentally grabbed his ASF instead of scouts to send him on a scouting mission. So whoops. But this, so Latent Hope here has actually gotten a SAM installation down. You are going to hear chickens firing in the background as a Black Phoenix and Outreach trying to do some damage here. Even Cups' main commander is out here on the front line. I don't know if they still have that plan B, be a good place to drop a nuke. Torpedo bomber is now coming out. Latent Hope has made landfall and is starting to work on Cerberus point defense now. So, interesting tactic. I think this is kind of a last-ditch attempt. The Yolana fires off another nuke. Another volley from the Scathus comes in. But what's interesting about this is the point defense will be able to pick off some of these shield generators. Maybe that's going to be enough. I don't know. We'll see. We've got Tech 3 shield generator, only shield up, still holding strong. A couple of Tech 2 shield generators do end up blinking on. Massive amounts of Tech 1 bombers now end up getting employed here. Hachi has obviously noticed that something is up here. I think that's going to be the end for Latent Hope. As it was a good effort. May get a couple of shots in on the Yolana, but yeah, not going to be able to kill it. And now you have another Cybran Salem gender confusion incursion here. Ironically led up by Bannable Offense's commander. So I think Team 1 is just having some fun now. I think they know that as long as that Yolana stays alive, they're just eventually going to be able to wipe this map of any structure. But yeah, Bannable Offense with laser and cloaking. Yeah, cloaking is on. Just, yeah, making his way in. Making his way into the enemy territory. We do have... So we have Black Phoenix down here in the southern pond. And Outreach is around here somewhere. I don't actually know exactly where his commander is. Razana's comm also with cloaking and laser. Except he's revealed his position. Another Yolana hit. This time on the Scathus. So the Scathus is down. Yeah, it's, again, not able to make it through that much shielding. Although it did more than I thought it would.
Strategic launch detected.
Razana's commander is now running into point defense. RAS preset commanders. And even has a jester, a couple of jesters on top of it. So, I mean, I think Razana's just having a little bit of fun here, but don't see him being able to make it out of this one, especially with no teleporter. He's going to take out some mass fab farms. I mean, I guess you could call this the Wall of Annihilation. I've been playing through some of the Terminator games lately. You've got the Wall of Annihilation, which would be the area where the machines are kind of going through and sterilizing the world. But that's going to get taken out. We now have a nuke on the proper air grid. So that's going to be it for Tech 3 air production out of Strider's old base. You do still have Black Phoenix's Tech 3 air available, but, you know, I mean, I think we can all see that this is now just a matter of time. Yolana's moving in. I'm going to bump the speed up a little bit. I think it'll only do like +2 right now. But Razana's going to go out. We do still have Bannable Offense just hanging out here. We have another Disruptor that got built somehow by Outreach. Bannable Offense could go kill that. Or, nope, you know what? There's the nuke. Like, just wait for that to do its job. Then you have all the Salems that are about to go to war with the RAS commanders. And Rascom's going to be able to put up a decent fight here, I think. Significantly tankier than the Salems, even though they don't do as much damage. They should be able to just absolutely annihilate the whole Wall of Annihilation here. Well, or just punch a hole straight through it. Now we have a Scathus from Bannable Offense, so, you know, taking a page out of his opponent's playbook. Still have an Air Force, but, you know, you're not going to really have an economy for much longer at all. There is also still a Navy, so the summits have migrated from down here up to kind of the middle area. You got a lot of Coopers. I don't know what it was, what it could have been out of the Cybran Navy that made them so concerned with torpedoes. But either way, they are. Have a couple of Governor class cruisers in tow. Bannable Offense has died. I guess he ran into the RAS preset death squad that was running around. And so now it's going to be Hachi and Cups are going to be the only two players on Team 1. But, you know, we all kind of knew that they were just messing around. Cups here, though, a little bit on the run. Might want to get some point defense up. Does have a Tech 2 air transport. Is airlifting some of the RASCOMs out and has resorted to flares. Is there another artillery installation somewhere around here? There is another disruptor. Oh, and there's even another... Oh, there's a nuke eliminator. So there's another disruptor. Outreach got another disruptor up. But from like the mass income perspective, I'm really surprised Team 2 is even pulling in 700 mass per tick right now. As just their entire side of the map is getting completely annihilated and colonized. Dirty colonizers that Hachi is. This is where their comms are. So Black Phoenix's comms there. What did Outreach rename his commander? Personal Retardation Outreach Official. Thought about building some naval factories there. That would have been an interesting play. Reason I'm speeding this up is A, I don't really think there's a way that Team 2 can get back into this, and B, my headphones are about to die, so. We're just going to knock it out. Although this is interesting. There's a lot of sub-hunters here. Unfortunately, these sub-hunters can't really do anything after this, so, well, Team 2 finally won Navy in the Northern Pond. Unfortunately, I think it's going to be a little bit too late, as Personal Retardation Outreach is now run into a bunch of Tech 1 mobile artillery. Black Phoenix is now getting bombed by an Awasa, and that should be the end of the game here. Last bomb goes off. Black Phoenix goes down. That is going to be the end of the game with one of the most innovative tactics I think I've ever seen. So, hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys made it this far, should be seeing on the screen some video that YouTube and our Google overlords think that you'll like at this point. So if you like what you've seen here, maybe try checking out that video, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.